think if you're starting something new, it generally means being pushed out of your comfort zone, and that's a scary place for a lot of people to be.
And I never got started because it was overcomplicated, it was too big, too scary, and of course the whole thing was overwhelming.
And actually then mail shotted every hotel in the town, got 2 or 3 who came back to me and said, yes, actually we'd like to have a meeting about what you've got to offer. And I think it all became too big too quickly, and I got with it and I cancelled a couple of meetings and it just kind of fizzled out. Inspiration Nation, hello, Lee Kemp here for another week on the podcast. Desperate for Joe Noya not to interrupt so we can get on and record this. How are you both this week, Joe and Ryan?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you.
Not too bad, thanks, Lee.
You made me lose your flow with all your I'm all over the place now, Joe. All over the place. Thank you, everyone, for listening and watching. We are across all podcast services. We're also on YouTube. Just search for Jose Noya Inspiration Nation, and you can see our beautiful faces there. Of course, follow us on social media. The show is at Listen to IN, Listen TOIN. Appreciate all the interaction and comments. And Joe is across all platforms. Again, just search for Jose Noya Inspiration Nation. In fact, if you just stick him into Google, that will bring him up. And we are at inspirationnation.org.uk. Check out the coaching service and, of course, the Inspiration Nation store there as well as the archive of all of these podcasts. And most importantly, and I forgot this last week and Joe told me off, don't forget to subscribe to Joe's weekly newsletter. How do people get onto that, Joe?
Go to janecoachingtechnologies.weebly.com. On the first page, the sign up there, get your weekly, you get 2 emails a week from me to your inbox to get you inspired every single week, and you can use them to go every single day. So that's what I say. Get on there, get on the list, get that in your inbox, because I'll tell you, when the videos go live, you get access to the blog, all sorts. There you go.
Fantastic stuff. So then, Joe, what are we talking about this week?
Right, we're talking about what stops us getting started. What stops you getting started? That's what I'm talking about. So, what stops us doing stuff? Like, we get an idea and we stop, and we don't even get started. Get an idea, don't do it. And I want to talk about that. That's essentially what I talk about, because that's happened to me a lot of the time. Started, stopped, started, stopped, started, stopped. And I want to just dig into a little bit why people stop and don't get started and just overplan, overthink. That used to be me. And I know we talked about on the podcast before, I've always come up with big visions, and I never got started because it was overcomplicated. It was too big, too scary. And of course, the whole thing was overwhelming. So we don't get started. And I want people to start getting started. And for me, like, this podcast is a perfect place to start, right? Because I remember Lee coming up to me. Someone asked me, actually, you could do a podcast. I said, I have no idea about doing a podcast. Then Lee came along, let's do a podcast. And Lee just went off in a few days, the podcast is coming up. And I love that. And I think it's a really good example. Before that, even when I went to coaching weekend and I started the website, it took me a good week to get a free website up and going. But that website's still ongoing right now. But then there's consistency. It wasn't going anywhere. Nothing's going traction. So you start and you stop, or you don't start at all. I'm not going to bother trying that idea. It's not working. So a little bit is around experimentation as well, because I don't think we try enough things. We don't get started enough things. We just never know whether it's going to work out or not. And I think there's a lot of fear around that. There's a lot of fear of judgment and all that sort of thing. So I just want to get your views on it, and whether you guys have had in your lives, that experience. I know we've experienced some things together, but definitely for me, starting all this and starting my coaching journey back in the day, very long time ago, so I want to start. Where do I start? I don't know. In my work, that's been a real big thing in my work, and with the big vision thing. And I know we had chats, didn't we, Lee, before this, and it was just too big. So I never really got going how I could have got to go on it. That's where I sit with it. Where do you sit with it? Over to you. I'm throwing the ball.
Any initial thoughts, Ryan?
I think if you're starting something new, it generally means being pushed out of your comfort zone. And that's a scary place for a lot of people to be. So that is an instant turn off for them. However, I think there are a lot of contributing factors to things. I think a really obvious one would be starting a business. People have an idea, a plan, maybe they understand they have a USP, and then all of a sudden maybe they realize that the USP isn't as unique as they first thought, and therefore, they don't push through with it because they don't think it's going to do well enough. That's the first thing that comes to my mind in regards to starting new things off, is like new projects or new businesses, I guess.
I love that. You got any thoughts on that, Lee? Because something just popped in my head.
What's popped in your head? And then we'll loop back to me.
Well, because this whole thing about Simon Squibb talks about it, and we've had Simon Squibb on the podcast. He's a multimillionaire with purpose, and he talks about this getting started. He just basically says get started, because you'll learn through that failure. Like that, if that USP isn't the thing, like unique selling point isn't the thing, then you'll learn from that, and then you'll still roll it on. Evan Carmichael talks about don't throw everything at it. Just start small, like build it up. Like don't throw a ton of money in it. Just try something, invest a little bit, and just invest more time than money, and see what happens. But I think people just don't get started because, one, either they think they need a ton of money, and they don't get started in the smallest way possible. And I think this podcast and what we're doing is the way, we've taken us to this point, right? To get to this point with the most minimum of funding we can do to get this out there, but it's out there, right? And we're learning all the time. And if we now look back and to here, it's like a massive journey, isn't it? So that's what I was thinking, Lee. Throwing it back to you, yeah.
Catch it again. Right. So, I don't know if I've talked about this one before, but, if we pick back through certain sound bites from the archives of the podcast, it would be a catalogue of the various things I've tried and given up on very quickly. Have I talked about my hotel marketing business before?
Did you talk about wigs or something?
Oh, no, we've done that, yeah. So Nixie Locks hair extensions, that was one. That never went very far.
That's what I heard about, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've spoken about that before.
So back when I was much younger, I'm going to say 18, 19.
Look at that, you're a young whippersnapper.
And I worked in the hotel trade at the time. And I had my entrepreneurial dreams. And you've got to remember, this is back in the late 90s. So technology is not what technology is now. Computers and the use of computers was something only nerds did and not the regular population.
You did not 90s. When did the internet come out? When was the internet? I'm not serious. It's a serious question. When did it come out?
Initially, like 1990, 1991.
Yeah.
Popular use, late 90s, as in young, and then it kind of, I don't know, it's really, you even got to think when iPhones came out, that was quite, it still wasn't commonplace to just have your internet everywhere. It's only like the last 10, 15 years. But anyway, setting the scene for that, because I worked in the hotel trade, lived in a town where there was loads of hotels, and I came with an idea to basically do their marketing for them. So I set up a business called Venue Marketing. Wow. I initially hooked in the hotel I worked for, and I advertised all their Christmas parties. So I took care of it all. I contacted the local paper, as was at the time, put in all the adverts for the parties, dealt with all the ins and outs of the bookings, obviously paid for the advert, and then passed on the bookings for a commission. And that was the initial plan. Created a template that then other people used for years and years and years in the Eastbourne Herald, as I think it was called. And actually then mail shotted every hotel in the town, got 2 or 3 who came back to me and said, yes, actually, we'd like to have a meeting about what you've got to offer. And I think it all became too big too quickly, and I bottled it, and I cancelled a couple of meetings, and it just kind of fizzled out. And in fact, ironically, and I didn't know we were going to talk about this, for whatever reason, and I was on a bit of a drive to the shops like a couple of days ago, this popped back in my head, and I was thinking at the time, there was something in that, and if I'd have just had more confidence in myself, I probably could have turned that into something. But I think there's partly the confidence and the belief, and there's the other thing, which I know I do with a few things, is expecting results too quickly. So I'm here, I want it to be here, and because I can't go to here overnight, I kind of stop.
No, you did get that, and you almost went to that, but you then just stopped.
Well, it wouldn't have been. It would have been getting 1 or 2, and then, you build that into 3 or 4, and you build that into 10, and then it becomes viable. And I just think I was too impatient on the steps in my head, I think.
So you wanted bigger?
Yeah.
That next meeting. Why did you cancel the meeting?
I can't really remember all the details now, but I think I just didn't believe in myself enough to go through with it.
you know what comes to mind? And I want to throw it to you guys and throw the ball back to you guys. It's that fear of success. Like, someone's holding a meeting with you. There's that whole thing of, oh, I could go, but this might be turn into something that's quite successful.
Yeah. What do I have to do off the back of it then?
Yeah, I've felt that before, where you're just about to step on, you go, no, I'm going to pull away because actually it's a bit scary.
Yeah, and that might be a big part of it actually as well. You're right.
And that's what I was thinking. So people talk about fear of success, and you know, I'm just trying to think, you know, so for me, I just recently did a video, and when I was younger, I was pretty good at football, right? So I'd go down the wing, really be quite good. And this success thing is a real personal one, because people say, oh, Noya's brilliant down the wing, he's great at left wing, all that. But I had a fear of being good. I didn't want to stand out. I wanted to be like everybody else. I didn't want to have the pressure of having to be good. I don't know if that makes any sense. But I felt that people put me on this like pedestal. Oh, you always just give it to Noya. He's going to go down that wing. He's going to da-da-da. And I was scared of that. And I didn't want that responsibility. So I think there's one thing, there's being that success, but also the responsibility that goes with that success. And I didn't want that. And there's the other thing of actually I'm standing out, I'm being a bit different. And
Yeah.
If you're that age, when you're sort of about, what, 16, I want to be fit in and be with it like everybody else and not have that whole thing. And I don't really understand. Even today, I'm thinking, you know, had I had the wiseness now, I probably would have done that. But also, as the people I surround myself with, because I have one of my best friends. When I look back, was their best friend? They were, but they weren't very nice. They weren't very helpful. Really, not my confidence. So there was a whole sort of that, and that led to me just not wanting to do it. So whether that's a thing as well, about not getting started, because that could have led to something. But again, if that had happened, I wouldn't be here to come to you guys. So I'm glad it happened, right? Because I wouldn't be here, right? It
happened for a reason. But like you said,
Yeah.
and we talked about it before in some of the other episodes, is like lessons you could tell yourself when you were younger. And I think looking back on it now, I'd have thinking how much time that would involve. It would have been a lot of work, but you know, I think what I do now and things like that, and how it could have gone. And yeah, it's just really weird you mentioned that, and that was literally in my head a couple of days ago. But that was definitely a start-stop thing. And I've got, we talked about, I've got a few of them where there's that initial step, but then it dies out, that initial rush of momentum, and then it dies out very, very quickly.
And that's where people got to step into momentum. When you get in it, you've got to keep going.
Yeah.
Even though it's messy, and I say Robin Sharma calls that the messy middle, where's that bit, you get momentum, and it's sort of, it's excitement, and then it starts to drop off, and it's just to push through that in any way you can, just to get to the other side. Like, I think we've done this with the podcast, where there's been places where some of us haven't been able to make it, but we've gone on with it, but we've continued, right? We've just pushed through just to keep that momentum going, right? And I think that's a real big key, and I think we touched on something there. Absolutely touched on something. Ryan, so I throw the ball to you. You got anything on that one? He didn't catch it. He just no, he didn't catch it. Yeah, Ryan, come on. Amazing. Yes, thank you, Ryan. You're the man.
If you want to see the excitement of Joe throwing imaginary balls, again, check us out on YouTube, Jose Noya, InspirationNation, or you can, of course, catch us each and every Tuesday, 8:30 UK time, on, what's it called? Instagram. I'm losing track of everything. Right, anyway.
Come on.
Back to you, Ryan. Back to you in the studio.
Yeah, I definitely had a similar thing to what Joe mentioned when I was younger and I played pool and stuff, and there was it's a similar situation, but different in the sense that I was good enough to be better than the majority of my peers, but not good enough to be elite in that level. So it was always difficult for me because I always wanted to be better, but I couldn't actually get there. But I had to take a step back to realize that I was good enough for a lot of different things, just not what I wanted the most.
Right.
So that was in a way was an over or an under appreciation of success rather than a fear of it. So I from the other side of the coin, if you like, I've definitely been there. But that was a long time ago.
So what do you remember from that then? Tell us a little bit about that. So what actually sort of did happen then?
Just I kept obviously worked really hard to get to where I was, but just fell short at certain levels and struggled at certain points, and because of that, it let me down. And it's weird to think that certain individual points or singular moments affect loads of stuff going forward. Obviously, it's really easy to say in hindsight and in general, but in the moment of something happening, you know, that could be the reason why something works or something doesn't. You know, it could be the biggest, you know, it could be the smallest thing, you know.
Well, knowing what you know now, what advice would you give that Ryan right now? That version of him?
Work harder, put more into it, I guess. I don't have any regrets, but I definitely could have achieved.
If you go back and, you know, see Ryan, see him struggling, not sure what you're saying is work harder, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, keep going, work harder, and you know, maybe with a bit of luck you'll get there, and knowing to be in the right mental space before, you know, matches or tournaments or whatever, then you might find a bit more success in them, I guess.
And I think you talked about that mindset, right? And I think that is where it is at, isn't it? I mean, you know, going back to my story, I just didn't have, I wasn't aware that if I continued to go and if I continued to stand out, that it would have been okay to continue, and who knows where it would have ended, right? Like what you've done, Ryan, actually what you said, Lee, like, had we had this mindset now, would we have continued? That's a really interesting thing, isn't it? Yeah, would it have continued?
And I think, like you said, it's all theoretical and it's looking back, but I think if I'd have, you know, if I knew then what I know now, I think I absolutely would have. I think I'd given it a much bigger go than, you know, for that thing and various things we've talked about through the time in the podcast as well. But I think that, you know, we've done it with the podcast and there's other things. I think that for me, that, you know, why don't we get started with things, or why do we stop? You know, what's stopping you get started? A lot of it is just that self-belief and those, you know, fear of success, fear of failure, fear of what other people are saying. And you know, all of those things are constructs in your mind, aren't they? And we've, you know, lots of stuff we talk about through the podcast is to help people work through those things. And I think getting past those things you've built for yourself in your mind is what can really push you to actually go and try. And, you know, like we said, and you say a lot, Joe, go for those big things, because sometimes that fear of what people think of you trying to do something that's a little bit out there again can put you off of it. But it's all up here and it's all in your mentality.
Well, do you remember, I hope you don't mind me saying, Lee, and you know, Ryan, but I remember Lee, and we talked about the podcast, we talked about how we're going to let our friends and family know about the podcast. And I felt this resistance, and I had it as well. And I still, you know, it's not everybody thinks it's a great idea, right? Even now, right? But now people got used to it, which is really good, right? And I remember Lee sort of saying, I'm not quite sure if I'm going to say anything. And then what did you do, Lee? Did you want to just tell me?
I can't believe you've even said my name on this podcast, Joe, because now people will know that, now that they will know I'm doing a podcast. I'm disgusted with you.
Lee,
absolutely.
Lee.
It's a Tenacious D song that sounds just like that. But that was, you're absolutely right. And I did have that, what will other people think thing. And actually, nothing's any different now, other than the fact that that doesn't concern me because I've put it out there, and you get a mix of reactions, but it doesn't stop me wanting to do it. And actually, every so often I'll mention it to someone and you hear that, oh, really, in their voice. And then they start to ask a few questions and know where it is and stuff. So that then kind of encourages me that it's a, you know, a good thing to be proud of.
But that's the thing, though. We shouldn't really listen to any of that. We should be really quiet about it, really. Don't you think? Like, because if that person, what are you doing that for? It's rubbish. You might have then gone, oh, no. But you don't, obviously, not now. I was going to say something, because when people used to tell me about stuff, people say, oh, I've just done a podcast. Hey, Nina, welcome. Congrats, Lee, by the way, she's saying.
Thank you.
If someone said to me, I've just started a podcast, I'd be going, oh, it's brilliant. I'd be so enthusiastic about it. I just like that. But I'm very much like that. People trying those new things. I think it's exciting. It's like, you know, the fact that we've got podcasts, I think is super exciting. Like, and I think this is a testament to that, to do it despite everything, despite the odds, despite everything. Even Simon Squibb was saying the other day, and I keep quoting him, I don't know why, but he was saying, you know, can you make money on a podcast? Not really, not unless you get like massive Joe Rogan success, right? But he says, well, it's not the best start of a business, but who's to say it's not going to be, right? That is the thing. It doesn't really matter who says what, because there's podcasts that have done it. If there's other podcasts that don't, it's possible, right? And I think that's where it all sits. This podcast is the concept and proof that you can just start.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
You inspire people to just start. So you want a podcast? Start. You want to go do whatever? Do a business? Go start. Want to try a new career? Start.
Just you want to make something and sell it, make it and sell it.
Oh.
Even if you do just one, that's exactly it. I was going to ask Joe, what is, before I use up a bit of time to talk about something else, I was going to say what's our key takeaway from today. But actually, on that thing of what stops us from starting, I think that is the key. The key takeaway is just, well, it's just start and believe in yourself. Now, and if it all goes horribly wrong, at least you gave it a go.
I'm just not saying throw all your money at it, right? Not sell your house and quit your job, and like, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying
I've done both of those things while we've started this podcast, Joe. Should I not have done that?
Tell us about it, Lee. Tell us about it, Lee. Come on, safe space here. Tell us about it, Lee. Come on.
Right. No, you're right. Start small.
Lee got this.
Little steps. I don't like when you psych me out. However, Joe, last week we talked about obsession.
We did.
You were going to downtime for 2 days, Friday and Monday.
Oh, okay.
How did this go?
I did the Friday, not so much the Monday. I'll post.
Yeah, I spotted you posting on the Monday, I have to say.
The Friday was really difficult. I explained to actually Ryan, bless him. Thank you, Ryan, for like saying how'd it go. He's actually asking for you, so just to put that in there in the podcast for reminiscence sake. Yeah, I found it really difficult. I'd give it up. I sat there. I felt really unproductive. Just sitting like a pre-recorded, like Ryan said, a pre-recorded video the day before. I'd gone for a walk. I pre-recorded it. Then I launched it that day, and that's all I did. And that was it. And then for the rest of the day, I was like on my sofa doing a bit of housework, washing up, whatever. But I felt really unproductive. However, you know what I said after that, don't you?
Saturday, were you like a man on fire?
The next few days, I just done so many stories. I mean, Nina on here, she would have looked at my stories. So Nina, I've done a ton of stories. Literally, I just kept recording and posting on my story. I've never done so many stories for a long, long time. And I wonder whether, like what Lee said, was about, if you can hear a lot of noise in the background, there's just a lot of people building some furniture, so you might hear that. Just is real life going on. So
I noticed again, Joe, you're opting out of the DIY family household activities.
I've got a podcast to do. I've got a podcast to do. It's all about prioritising your priorities, right? And if you see one of my posts on my story, you did see I did the hoovering. And you did see that I also constructed a Hulk figure and played the Avengers music. That's how creative I got.
I saw that. See, so did that creative bit of your brain kick in?
I don't know when it did. But the next day I just felt, I could do a little bit more with that. So maybe there's that, you were right, maybe there's that more extra brain bandwidth. Yes, you were more active on your off days. That's what Nina just said.
So Friday you struggled, but you did it.
Yeah, I did it. I did.
And were your family happy that you did this?
I don't know. Family? Are you happy to put Friday off? You know, Friday I didn't do my podcasting. It's a bit of yes. Did you hear that banging? That's them banging something together.
So then Monday, though, you struggled. And did you start off with good intentions of chilling for the day, and then it went downhill, or were you like, I'm just doing it. I'm back on it. I'm Joe, content creator.
So it's the first day before I got back to my day job. I'm going to go, right, I need to blast this on, and I blasted it on. It was great. It was really good. But maybe I should try to a couple of days. But I just love it so much. I miss it. I just miss it. And I think that's a testament to why I love Inspiration.Nation so much, that I just love it. It's in my soul. It's something that I really want to be out there in the world. And so I am obsessed to be like the previous podcast episode that I do feel that I don't stop thinking about it. Even when I sat down, actually, on the Monday, I think I went on Mark Drager's We Do Hard Things, but they do like a daily show, and they talked about getting started. Well, that's a really good idea. I think let's just, and I thought I'd borrow that and put it into this one, because I think that's a totally different conversation, by the way, but I think it's a really fascinating conversation. I think it stops a lot of people just starting. I think it's a really important thing that you might have an idea and you just need to get started, and you might need a rest. So have a rest and then get back on it. If you're doing something and you stop, get started the next day, like Atomic Habits says, James Clear says in Atomic Habits, like if you stop one day, don't just throw out, just I'm giving up now. Get on it the next day, but just keep persisting. And it's so important. And again, I didn't want to lose my day, did I? That's another thing on this. I didn't want to lose my runner days. And that was one thing that I don't want to lose. So I don't know what day it is today.
It's got to be creeping towards 900 now, isn't it?
Hang on. I'll just get my journal.
Whilst you are journaling, Joe, Ryan, how would you rate out of 10 Joe's attempt at fulfilling his downtime promise?
We did promise 2 days.
He did.
So it can't be any higher than a 5, can it? Because half marks for half the time spent. But I feel like he did handle the Friday well. So I will give it a 5.
Okay. I was going to go for a 4.5, but we'll go with Ryan's 5. You have 5 grapes out of 10, Joe, for your attempt.
Oh, I like this. Grapeometer. A grapeometer. I love that.
Ryan will reward you with 5 grapes, but you could have had 10.
They will be in the post.
I expect them in the post.
If you want to get your reward yourself with a grape t-shirt, head over to InspirationNation.org.uk.
I was going to say, Lee, so what about you in journaling then?
Whoa. This is all about me asking you, Joe.
Journal time. It's journal time. Let's look at the journal time. Lee, let's look at your journal. What's in the journal? Go get it.
I will fill in the journal every day if you promise to never do that again.
Right, that's a promise then.
He's already doing it. It's been like 2 seconds and you're already on it.
Go get it. Go get it. You know the drill. Go get it. Go get it. Go get it.
Hold on. Got to take my headphones out.
Go get it. Come on, Lee. You can stand up. We know you've got jogging bottoms on. He didn't hear that, did he?
No.
We know you've got
got
stand up.
No, because I'm wearing my checkered house trousers that no one needs to see below my awesome Inspiration Hoodie. Again, InspirationNation.org.uk. Get yours today.
Where's your mug?
Here is my mug.
And where's your hoodie? Where's the hoodie you keep promising us that you're going to get?
It's on the to-do list.
Right, so there's the journaling, there's the mug, and there's the hoodie. Right, that's staying on the podcast, and every week I'm going to be asking you every week.
By next week, I will have two of those 3 things done.
Oh, and a face mask. And a face mask you're going to get at one point. I'm sure you promised the face mask at one point.
Maybe face mask
I'm
as
sure
well.
you promised the journal as well.
Right, it's blank. I'm going to do it. The concept's there, but I've not started writing in it. Right, we are running out of time, guys. So wrapping up comments on why do we... What was it called again, Joe?
Oh, my word.
Why do we fail to start?
That's what I said. Why do we fail to start? Closing comments, Jose.
Right, so it is the case of just starting the smallest steps possible. Whatever it is, you've got a big vision, you want it to be global, whatever it is, dial it back to the smallest thing. It might be just, I don't know, if you're selling, it might be just posting something on your Facebook group, but don't give up your job. Just do it in a way that won't be a massive risk. So take action, but minimize the risk and take action, right? That's what I'd say. Just important to just stay motivated. And if you start to drop off, just make sure you keep on it. And if you stop one day, just get back on the next day. Don't have more than one day out, because once you do that, then your habit is then going to start breaking that. So it's just important to do that. That's mine. What about you guys?
No, that's good. I agree with you as well, Joe. It's the little steps and being happy with the little bit of progress.
Yep.
If you can just move whatever you're doing, if you can just move it ahead by 1% each day, you're moving in the right direction. Don't do what I did and expect 105 in a day.
I think that's important, isn't it? It's just a reason around delayed gratification. I think that's what people say, isn't it? Ryan, bet you.
No, I think you've nailed it, mate, to be honest.
Awesome. We thank everyone for joining on Instagram Live. Again, check out Joe, Jose Noya, InspirationNation every single Tuesday at 8:30. That is about 3:30 in the afternoon if you're in the States on Eastern time as well. If you're over there and you want to join us. Thank you for downloading the podcast across all podcast platforms. And for join us on YouTube as well. Just look for Jose Noya InspirationNation in the YouTube search. Check us out, inspirationnation.org.uk, and check us out on social media at ListenToIN, Listen TOIN. And of course, Joe's weekly newsletter. Just stick JN Coaching Technologies into your Google search, bring up his website, sign up for the newsletter. You will get 2 doses of inspiration a week. Blog, videos, links to everything. It's all great inspirational stuff.
Can we give some shout outs to people on the Instagram, please?
Absolutely. Go for it, Joe. Go for it.
Oh, you want me to do it? All right. Hey, Nina, welcome. Thanks for that. Thanks for listening. Thanks, Kaza, for joining. Really appreciate you. Fantastic. Who else has joined today? Anyone else? Tayyab Ahmed, thanks again. Sajad, thank you very much for joining. That's brilliant. Some shout outs for you. So if you come on the podcast, and you come on the Instagram Live, we will give you a shout out, and you'll be ever encased in Inspiration Nation history on the podcast.
Absolutely. Get involved with the show as it happens. All that is left now is for me to count us down. We'll be back again next week. 3, 2, 1. Inspiration Nation. Catch you guys later.
I hope you enjoyed that video about what stops you getting started. Some great hints and tips, so go check it out. So don't forget, look at all our other podcast videos right here, right now. Go get inspired there. And also don't forget to subscribe and also hit that bell, because that will tell you when another video goes live. So you watch Inspiration Nation, you know, Inspiration Nation, and I'll see you over there.